your,
Just coming in.
keeps your computer online, so you can shut it down normally, rather than having it crash when the power turns off, like a power strip
Okay,
does.
so that would mean the UPS wouldn't need that 2,300 joules then.
I
That's
think
my
Bob
guess.
is on his way in.
Yep.
Who is he?
Greg, did you have a question or comment?
Well, I just wanted to say hi to all you old senior citizens.
Thanks, Greg. How's the Starlink still working out okay?
Absolutely, another 101 day, 101 today,
Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
very good.
Is Bob in his car?
Really? Is Bob in his car here?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. I can't see him. Do you want to, can you guys make him a co-host?
He's still connecting. There he
Yeah.
goes.
All right. I hope he keeps his eyes on the road. I hope he didn't get an optometry appointment.
He has his glasses on today.
Maybe his wife's driving and he's yeah. George, go ahead.
I have bought single outlet surge protectors, and you could plug, if you've got a fancy surge protector extension device with lots of outlets in it, I don't see a reason you couldn't plug one of the cable of that into the single outlet surge protector if it's got a good joule rating. You know, it's not going to interfere, and you know it'll give you new life in your MOVs. So you know, look for those. They're just single outlets. They go into the wall plug, and then you plug the cable into that, and you're covered again.
Yeah, I have some of those in my house. I put one on the microwave, and you know, it's hard to get at. So it sits up in the cupboard behind, and it's plugged. Yeah, after going through a few microwaves, I decided that was a good idea. Probably a lot cheaper than buying a new microwave.
And maybe a little cheaper than buying a fancy multi-outlet. I mean, I've got an outlet here that's supposed to protect all the telephone lines and the RJ45s and all that. I mean, it's a $20 device, you know, maybe 40, I don't know. Anyway, have a look for those. I haven't looked myself lately.
There you go. Did Bob get in?
Yeah, but he doesn't have a microphone, or maybe he does now. Let me see.
Or
He may have disappeared. I don't see him now on the list. I think we lost him.
He's on, but he's not, camera's not on.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I've used Surgerus and UPSs for many, many, many years. I'm going to say over 20, maybe 30 years, whenever APC first came out with their battery backups. And cardinal rule, never plug a UPS into its own surge arrest. Always plug it into the raw outlet and let the UPS's electronics do the work, because they can interfere with each other. I just put an article in chat which emphasizes that.
Is there any point in plugging the surge protector into the UPS?
No, because what happens with a surge arrest is basically going to clamp the ground. So if you're going to put more devices on a UPS, it is better just to have an electronic outlet, you know, that's not got surge arrest. I've got these things called octopus plugs. It's a single cord with 4 additional cords on it, each one with an outlet. Helps when your power cubes and things like that are plugged in. And that enables me to plug more things into a very powerful UPS.
Yeah, back in the day, I was a co-owner of a computer store, and we were an APC dealer. And so I went to a lot of training and so on, but we're talking, what, 25 years ago or better. But the more expensive surge protector, or not surge protector, but UPSs back in those days did do a lot of power fluctuation,
Voltage regulation.
and the cheaper ones did not.
Yeah, I've replaced all my inexpensive UPSs now with APC smart ups. And
Yeah.
the smart ups, basically the circuitry enables the battery to be in the circuit and enables the line to be in the circuit 100%. So if the power drops due to a very quick drop, you don't get the drop and then have it come back. And some of the inexpensive UPSs are just backups, and they may or may not catch. Like if, let's say, the power drops for half a second, comes back, and then drops for a second and then comes back. Typical backups may not catch everything, and your system goes down and your computer has to reboot, so on. But smart ups, not just APC, there's several other generic ones out there, but the smart ups is their circuitry does voltage regulation, and it stays online, and it'll catch those intermittent surges. Nothing goes down. Sounds like a subject to a short article on.
That could be coming up. We've got lots of things happening in the future. We were talking about that today. We've got solar panels, we've got cars, we've got OneDrive, we've got home theater. We have a whole bunch of shows coming up.
And there's new stuff coming out too.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Not
Yeah.
yet, Bob, we can now.
We can.
Yeah, well, I'm in my car and I'm on my phone.
Who's driving?
No. Car's parked. Alice is inside getting ready
Okay.
for
Okay.
her surgery. Yep.
Oh, good. We'll make you a co-host here.
And don't bother, because there's nothing much I can do. Like I said, I'm on the phone
Oh.
and I don't know what the heck to do outside of just listen.
Glad you made it, Bob.
Well, that's good, Bob. That's great. Thank you for coming.
He just
Thank
wants
you.
to make sure we don't talk bad about him.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, right.
It should have been here 10 minutes ago.
Can I throw a question in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have an ASUS router in my house that, as of yesterday, no longer allows any device to ping it or log into it. However, all but one of my Wi-Fi devices work fine going through it. And I've rebooted the router to no effect. I've got an Amazon Kindle that refuses to get an IP address or can't get an IP address. So it's offline, but my TV works fine. My computer works fine. I just can't ping or log on to the router anymore.
Check the manual and see if there's a reset slot. You can put a pin in, a paper clip in or something like that, or there might be some way to reset that router.
There is a reset button on there, but I was kind of hoping to save that as a last resort, because I do have some custom DHCP entries in there and some other configurations. I wanted that to be the last resort.
Now, since Bob G is listening, he may be able to comment, but there have been some really nasty bugs out there getting into routers, getting into their firmware, and users are unaware of it except for the kinds of things you're talking about.
When is the last time you rebooted your router?
Yesterday.
Okay,
But
then
we're talking about a reset. Maybe the best option is a reset. I agree with Hewie.
It may come down to that.
Yeah, I agree with Hewie. Carl, are you going to enlighten us on this subject?
Not on, well, my reaction is it's time for a reset, hard reset. But no, I have and have had for some time an supply on my home AT&T router. It's more than a router, but at any rate, that way, if I do lose power even momentarily, I don't have to wait for it to restore. And of course, I've got 2 laptops that I use in the house, so I never lose internet even if the power burps. But I also have a whole house generator, but it takes about a minute for it to come on. So it's a good idea, like Mike's doing with the router. It's not that expensive to get one at Costco, but I will say this, I've had it for many years. The battery only lasts about 7 years, and it has to be replaced, and you can replace the UPS battery.
The problem I had, and when I closed our medical clinics, I had about 15 UPS backups sitting in my house here. I finally just took them all to recycling. The problem was that the batteries, to buy the replaceable, at least in Canada, to buy the replaceable batteries, it was cheaper to buy a new unit, right? It gets that's the problem with these UPS. And the other problem is I'm not sure what the life expectancy of the batteries is, but it isn't like it's 3 to 5 years. I think it's not going to go on forever, right? So
well, I use the APC 650s, which cost about $60-70 in the stores.
Mhm.
And the battery lasts about 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And I replaced them at Batteries Plus for about $35.
Yeah. See, in Canada, we don't have Batteries Plus here. And so, it was about $60 for a battery or more plus shipping.
Well, the ones I've had, I've also had APC and others, but they're typically about 7 amp hour. And I've got them on Amazon. It's, to my surprise, they didn't charge for shipping, but they do charge for shipping on many things.
You also have to recognize that those also have surge protectors in them that may go bad. So
Correct.
Just replacing the battery is not as good as replacing the whole unit.
Good
I
point.
usually replace it once and then move on to a whole replace. I'll replace the battery one time if I
Right.
can get it easily, and then I'll go and replace the whole
Right.
thing.
Good point. Greg, go ahead. Did you have another comment? You're muted.
Somebody's muted.
For my motorhome, I bought 5 lithium batteries. They were $585 a piece, and it took 6 of them.
Yeah, they're using those for boats a lot now too, for offshore sailing and stuff. The lithium batteries really work well. Particularly, you don't have to store them upright, eh? Like you can turn them on their side or turn them any way you want. So they're easy to mount in different locations.
Well, I've got a pull-out tray so I can get to them, but I
Yeah.
can't believe the weight of them.
Yeah.
For an old guy, it almost tipped me over.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Great.
Parking here this morning was atrocious. And then finally, when I made my 15th turnaround, there was some guy parked in the middle and he waves me on. He says, go ahead, go ahead. I guess he was waiting to get a spot. And I get all the way down to the end. There's an empty spot there. So I guess he waved me right into that spot. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Bob reminded me of something. Bob reminded me of something, Dr. Brown. A year ago, I was the first to use Duo in a mobile at 45 miles an hour. And I thought maybe he was going to try to upstage me today by being TFS mobile.
No, no, the car is standing still. It's in park. It's running because otherwise it's too hot. You'd wind up killing yourself in here.
Right.
But I'm parked.
Listen, I've been in wireless communication all my life since I was a ham teenager. But to be driving in a car at highway speed and not have a flicker and be watching Tech for Seniors blew me away at 83. I mean, it's not just watching. It's two-way communication. It's not like TV. I'm still speechless.
Yeah, there you go. It's technology.
Modern technology.
Modern technology.
Yeah, not something I'd be doing. If I was driving, I would not be here. It only takes a fraction of a second of distraction and you're dead. So not worth it.
Well, wait a minute. It doesn't mean I was watching my phone, which is on my console. I was just talking and driving. You don't have to
Yeah.
see you to talk to you.
That part's okay. That's like making a phone call.
For those of you who are wondering what is going on, we're just sitting having a chat, enjoying life and talking to our friends. The meeting will start in about 4 minutes. So we do have a show. We just don't sit around and talk all morning. So we do start very punctual, and we'll start right at 9 o'clock with a very structured show. So hang in there. We're going to start soon. If you have any more quick questions, that'd be great. We can certainly answer them. We got 4 minutes left.
If they just want to hear us talk, they can come on Thursday to
Yeah.
Tech for Senior Live, because that's what we do then.
We
is
just
we
talk,
just talk about technology.
Yeah, we do. And that's one thing we all love to do is talk.
Some more than others.
Indeed, indeed.
It is kind of strange for me to do this on the phone because it's my first time. It is totally different than on the computer.
There you go. Well, now, Bob, when people phone in on the phone and they have problems, you'll appreciate what they're dealing with.
Yeah, but I still won't be able to help them because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Bob, you have a great picture.
That's a Pixel. This one is the Pixel 5.
Yeah, you have a great picture. Very clear.
Thank you.
I think if you tap the screen, you'll see all the controls.
Oh, no, I see the controls. The one I can't seem to shut up is the text. And it's taking up half the screen.
Oh, the transcript. Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have a little X over there in the corner someplace.
Nope.
I think you can turn it off somehow.
Well,
it's the somehow that I haven't been able to find.
Well, I think the only way to do it is to say no when the transcript pops up in the first place.
Didn't have that option. Oh, look at that. I just was able to admit someone. That's amazing.
I made you
right.
I made you. I made you co-host. But you know, Bob, the thing I can't do, which it may be because you're on mobile, is I can't move you onto the first screen. When I make you co-host, it doesn't put you on the first screen.
That's all right. I can still do part of the work.
Bob, one thing you might do, if you turn it landscape, you might be able to see that entire strip.
No, same thing.
But it made your image bigger, Bob.
All right, listen, everyone. Sally, I'm sorry, we have to. Can we do your question in Q&A, because we got to get the meeting going. We only have 1 more minute left, and I got to get organized here. So we'll do.
I was just going to tell Bob that I watch everything on my phone, and no one has been able to tell me how to get rid of the transcript.
Okay. Thanks, Andy. All right, I'm going to mute everybody, and we will get going with the show. We have a big show for you today. I'm going to mute everybody. Good morning, everyone. It is Tech for Senior. This is episode 124. It is the 8th of August, 2022, and a lovely day in Comox, British Columbia, which is where I am broadcasting from. If you are, I want to, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming, and we do appreciate you being here. Now, if you are watching this on a replay, such as a YouTube replay, thank you for coming and thank you for watching. If it is a replay for you on YouTube, you will notice in the descriptions we have time chapters, and these time chapters will, of course, take you right to the section that you want to go to. If you are watching this as a YouTube short, then thank you for watching the short. And we will, if you look in the description, you will find the link to the show. So we have a big show for you today. And we also have our premiere service, which we'll be offering later on in the hour. And that, of course, went out in the newsletter, our Saturday newsletter, the link for the premiere service. And this week we have Dewey Kloos is going to talk to us about sleep trackers and infrared grills. You remember his famous talk he did on his steak? Remember he cooking up the steaks there for us with his new infrared grill. Ray is going to tell us what is after a terabyte. Do you have that many fingers and toes, Ray? I don't know if you have that many.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not
So he's
even
going to tell us what's after a terabyte. And of course, Hewie is going to talk about Twitter and all what Twitter is and why seniors and what we can use Twitter for. And that all will happen at 1/2 the hour in our premiere service. And I'll put the link into the chat. Now, then we also have a show on Thursday, as we mentioned earlier in that warm-up time. We all like to get together at Tech for Senior Live on Thursday. And we have a theme, and the theme this weekend, or this Thursday, will be robotic vacuums and what will the purchase of Amazon has just purchased Roomba. So this is the big news of the week, and we will all be anxiously talking about this, and that'll be our topic that we'll be talking about on Thursday as we review all the news of the week. If you then still want more, we podcast that out to everyone. So that's what's in store this week. We will have, of course, this show will be is taped, and I'll be editing it and putting it up for the final copy later on today. And if you have, of course, our newsletter, and if you don't get our newsletter, please subscribe. It comes out on Tuesdays and Saturday. And we don't, the thing about our newsletter, has anyone ever had a newsletter with no advertising in? There is zero advertising in our newsletter. We own the database and won't let anybody have it. So you get zero advertising. All we want to do is just let you know what we're doing. As Tech for Senior grows, it gets more complicated. So we want to let you know what we're doing and how the best way to find what you're looking for is. And that's one of the purposes of the newsletter. So today, let me see, Bob, as you know, is here, but let me introduce, first of all, Hewie Poplock, my co-host. What have you got to say for yourself today, Hewie?
I've got Windows SIG coming up on Sunday, and I'm busy collecting articles to cover about Windows, and that's this Sunday. So if you're not registered for it, go to hewie.net, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get information about it.
Excellent. And of course, Bob, can you say hello from the car?
Sure, why not? It's actually nice because Bluetooth is on, so I'm hearing you crystal clear in the car over its excellent sound system.
Very good.
Sound is probably better than at home.
There you go. Now, where did you have to drive a long way away?
I'm in Albuquerque.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, cool. All right. Well, we enjoy the show.
I intend to.
I have all your stuff ready to play, and I hope I don't make it. I hope I do it okay. I know you'll yell at me if I don't. So anyway, it's all ready to go.
Good.
All right. And Ray, what's happening with you?
Good morning. Everything is going pretty well. I think I told you I went down to Phoenix over the weekend to visit my some of my buddies, and they call this club Romeo. I mentioned this before, but I love saying it again. What does Romeo stand for? Retired Old Men Eating Out. So
There you go.
I'm an honorary member.
Excellent. Excellent. Which restaurant did you go to?
An IHOP in Mesa,
Oh, okay.
right off the 202 on Dobson.
Wow.
You would know where Dobson is.
Dobson, I do. I played golf at Dobson Ranch many times. Indeed, indeed. All right. And of course, on the other side of the country, we have Bill James.
Hi, all.
Bill, how's your week going?
Actually, pretty well, thank you. We're still sweltering here, but today it's 92 and possibly some rain, so that'll help keep it cool. But we've been having 100-degree temperatures for 5-6 days in a row.
Pretty hot in some areas, yes.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I'm just keeping my fingers crossed the air conditioning keeps going.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I had a bit of a stress yesterday. I had my Ring doorbell stopped working, so I took it all apart and tested the power coming to the doorbell, and of course, the power is there. It's just the doorbell's pooped, right? So
Get a wise.
Yeah, I knew Bob was gonna mention that. Anyway, so yeah, I've had to decide what I'm gonna do about that.
How old's the doorbell?
3 years old.
Oh,
It's time for a new one anyway.
That's what I thought. What the heck, what electronics last more than 3 years, right? All right.
Even let you know when packages get there.
Yeah. Very good, Bob. Yes, I do. Thanks a lot. Before we get started, we have a big show for you today, by the way, lots of things happening. I wanted just to thank John McGregor for his very generous donation. Thanks, John, for your contribution. It always helps pay the bills, and that's just great. So thanks so much for your generous donation. All right, let's get going with the show. We have a big show for you today. We'll start, of course. Is Bob around? Is Bob around? Let's start with, I'm going to share my screen and we'll get with his security news update.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending August 5th, 2022. Hackers abuse chaotic Nomad exploit to drain almost 200 million in crypto. Cross-chain messaging protocol Nomad has become the target of crypto's latest 9-figure attack after hackers abused a chaotic security exploit to steal almost 200 million in digital assets. Nomad, a token bridge that allows users to send and receive tokens between Avalanche, Ethereum, EVOMS, Moonbeam, and Milk-Omida C1 blockchains, was attacked on Monday, with hackers draining almost all the protocol's funds. Approximately 190.7 million in crypto was stolen from the bridge, according to decentralized finance tracking platform DeFi Llama, which shows that the current total value locked, the amount of user funds deposited in a DeFi protocol, is less than $12,000 at the time of writing. Read more at TechCrunch. TikTok thieves steal Kia and Hyundai cars in viral challenge. Owners of select Hyundai and Kia models are being asked to take precautions when parking vehicles due to a rise in auto thefts. And while cars are high-tech these days, this easy hack quickly went viral on YouTube and TikTok because thieves use only a USB cable to steal vehicles. Thieves have targeted Kia model from 2011 to 2021 and Hyundai models from 2015 to 2021 because of a vulnerability that allows them to remove the steering column cover, then use a USB cable to steal the car. The vandals can quickly release the wheel lock
and then use the USB cable to override the system. Turn it like a key and drive off. For more on this, see Review Geek. You need a college degree to understand Facebook's Term of Service report. You must be at least a junior in high school to understand the terms of service for all 10 major social media platforms. Roughly 4.6 billion people use at least one social media platform. Do they understand what they are signing up for? To better understand social media terms of service, privacy firm All About Cookies investigated the terms of service of 10 social media sites: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Reddit, Discord, Twitch, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Facebook has the most difficult terms of service to understand, requiring the reading comprehension level of a college graduate, the company's study reads. On July 26th, Facebook's updated terms of service came into effect, and the document is longer and more complicated than before. It's 900 words longer, 5,007 words in total, and you need a 16th grade reading comprehension level to get through the document. Read more at Cyber News. U.S. attorneys general will take legal action against telecom providers enabling robocalls. The attorneys general of all 50 states have joined forces in hopes of giving teeth to the seemingly never-ending fight against robocalls. North Carolina AG Josh Stein, Indiana AG Todd Rokita, and Ohio AG Dave Yost are leading the formation of the new anti-robocall litigation task force. In Stein's announcement, he said the group will focus on taking legal action against telecoms, particularly gateway providers, allowing or turning a blind eye to foreign robocalls made to U.S. numbers. He explained the gateway providers routing foreign phone calls into the U.S. telephone network have the responsibility under the law to ensure the traffic they're bringing in is legal. Mostly aren't taken out of the U.S. phone, intentionally allowing robocall traffic through in return for steady revenue in many cases. See Engadget for more. Here are 5 modern technologies the Jetsons accurately predicted 60 years ago. Video calls. Video calls took place regularly on the show, most often for connecting family members to one another or for connecting George to his boss. Personal assistants. Voice assistants are something that many of us use daily. Smartwatches. George was constantly getting work calls from his boss on his wristwatch. Food printing. Preparing dinner on the Jetsons was as simple as choosing what you wanted to eat and setting it into the food replicator. Space tourism. Space travel on the show was so commonplace that people would take vacations to the moon. For more on this, see PC Mag. U.S. Department of Justice seizes $500,000 from North Korean hackers. Earlier this month, Deputy U.S. Attorney General Lisa Monaco said that the DOJ had reclaimed approximately $500,000 from North Korean government-backed hackers. Monaco said the money had initially been either extorted from healthcare organizations or used to launder ransom payments, and the DOJ has already started the process of returning the funds to the victims. She's also urged U.S. companies to report ransomware attacks to the FBI immediately, as many victims tend to try to deal with the problem themselves. Investigating one attack on a Kansas medical organization last year led the FBI to identify a new type of ransomware, as well as seize ransom payments back. See CNN for more on this story. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Studies show a clear link between time spent online and negative mental health outcomes. Here are 7 signs that it's time to put down your phone. Read the article at the link listed, or watch my video on this topic at the YouTube link listed. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bob, how did I do? Did I do okay?
You did fine, thank you.
You got one more we're going to play here. Hold on. We got one more here. We're going to do this. PayPal invoice scams.
PayPal invoice scams aren't going away. Scammers are always looking for new ways to steal your personal details or money, and over the past few months, an exploit in PayPal's invoice system is being used to create convincing phishing messages. Here's how the scam works. PayPal allows sellers to create invoices, which can then be sent to customers' PayPal account to pay for a product or service. However, PayPal doesn't seem to do a great job when it comes to checking if invoices are legitimate or not. Recently, scammers have been using invoices to trick people into sending money to other accounts. It's not clear when this method became popular, but there are reports going back as far as 2020 and earlier. The scam involves sending a PayPal user an email telling them to pay for something. The email received identified the sender as the billing department of PayPal, with a message saying $1,000 has been debited to your account from the Walmart e-gift card purchase, and that it should contact a phone number for customer support. Another version, identified by the Virginia Commonwealth University, asks for $450 for Bitcoin crypto, with a different phone number listed. Apparently, the only similarities between all the messages are, "Here's your invoice," or "Invoice updated" at the top, and a button that says "View and Pay Invoice." Unfortunately, those also appear for legitimate invoices from actual businesses. The emails are sent through the same service@paypal.com email address as other account notifications, making them seem more legitimate. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. Here's a tip on how to avoid the scam. The easiest way to ignore this specific attack is to not pay any invoices for a product or service you didn't purchase. However, invoices are different than purchase notifications. If PayPal sent you a confirmation email for purchasing an item, then someone might have stolen your PayPal account, and you should contact PayPal customer support right away. If you receive a sketchy email or message about PayPal payments, you should go to paypal.com or the apps for iPhone and Android instead of clicking any links from the message. The activity page on your PayPal profile will show any recent payments or requests, and you can check for any invoices from the activity page by clicking Status and then Invoices to Pay. Hopefully, PayPal will crack down on invoice abuse, so this won't be a common occurrence anymore. PayPal isn't alone either. The popular money transfer service Zelle and many other well-known services are also frequent targets for scammers. Thanks to Corbin Davenport for his excellent article on this topic published on How to Geek. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
You muted, Ron. Okay.
I know. Thanks, Bob. Good advice.
Unfortunately, it's not the last one.
Yeah, you got one more coming up. That's right. All right. Let's switch stream here a bit, and we're going to get into some medical stuff and some health related stuff. So I've got a little video for you today. Will probably be lots of questions about this. So we'll certainly answer those in the chat later, or sorry, in our Q&A later. So let's get on with this, and we should have it right there. Your heart and your watch, what seniors must know. There are new features coming to some smartwatches that will make these a must for seniors. In this video, we'll look at what these features are, what watches will be affected, and why it is so important that you as a senior watch this video. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology. Today, though, I'm going to take my YouTube creator's jacket off and put on my medical jacket. Yes, I'm going to draw on the 35 years of experience I've had looking after people as a family physician and working in emergency departments. So today I want to talk to you about some significant changes that are occurring to smartwatches that will make these invaluable for seniors. So you need to know what a very common heart condition is called atrial fibrillation. Now in this graph you're going to see, and this is from my very popular Saving Your Life with Wearable Technology. As you can see in this graph that over the age of 60, the incidence of atrial fibrillation goes up exponentially. This is so important for you to understand. Let's have a look at actually what atrial fibrillation is. So in this diagram, you'll see that there are 4 chambers in a heart. There are the 2 upper chambers called the atrium, and there are the 2 big chambers at the bottom called ventricles. So the 2 chambers in the heart at the top, the atrium, contract down, putting blood into the bottom big chambers that pump the blood out. Now the right ventricle goes to the lung, and the left ventricle, of course, is the big one that goes to the rest of the body. So that's how the blood flows through our heart. Now in atrial fibrillation, there's a problem. In other words, those 2 chambers in the top, those atrium, start to speed up. And oh my gosh, they go awful fast. They get going at a rapid rate so that they're just quivering. They're not actually contracting down. Now you're going to say, oh my gosh, that's terrible. You'd probably die. But that's not the case. Most people with atrial fibrillation can live very normal lives. In fact, the problem is they don't even know they have the condition. There's a stopgap between those top 2 chambers and the bottom chambers, so the bottom chambers just keep contracting down. And it turns out that you don't need those top 2 chambers to push blood down into those bottom 2 chambers. So what happens is this, is that atrial fibrillation occurs, and it occurs when you don't even notice you have any symptoms. That's the problem. So the top 2 chambers all of a sudden go very rapid. They're sort of fluttering, and they're not actually contracting down. Now what this does is this causes clots in those big atrial chambers, and the blood clots then can move down into the ventricles. In the case of the left ventricle, goes up into the brain and causes strokes. And that's why atrial fibrillation is the 3rd cause of stroke. So, and people don't know they have it. So this is why it's so important that as a senior we understand what atrial fibrillation is, and that there can be no symptoms of that, and you just end up with a disease that you don't want. You don't want to have a stroke, right? So how can watches help with this? What advantages would there be in purchasing a smartwatch? Well, the three that I've talked about before and done a number of videos about are, of course, the Apple Watch, the Galaxy 4 watch, and the Fitbit Sense. Now, why is this so important? Well, these three watches have a unique feature that they can do. Not only can they do what we call an ECG, but they can interpret the ECG and tell you if you have atrial fibrillation. These have all had scientific studies behind them and all are approved by the FDA in the United States. They're also approved in Canada and many other countries around the world because they have the data to back up how they're doing this. So what happens is these watches can do an ECG. The ECG on the watch gets interpreted and it will tell you immediately when we do the ECG if you have atrial fibrillation or you don't. So that's pretty cool. It will certainly do that. And these watches work in conjunction with a cell phone. So these watches, of course, are paired with a cell phone. This data is then stored in a PDF format on your smartphone. This, of course, can be shown to your healthcare provider. It can be emailed to your healthcare provider, or of course, it can be sent to your cardiologist. The studies have shown this is very accurate. Now, you must understand that an ECG done on your watch is not like the ECG we do in hospitals. In the hospital, when we do a 12-lead ECG, we can look at the past, present, and future of your heart. It gives us a lot of data. The ECG that we do on these smart watches only has one specific function, and that is to tell if you have or have not got atrial fibrillation. It doesn't tell you if you have a heart attack. It doesn't tell you if you need to go to the hospital. None of that is true. All as the ECG function does is it tells you if you have atrial fibrillation. So let's look at how this would work. Well, you would maybe get a fluttering in your chest, maybe you get a bit of shortness of breath. You start to feel a bit unwell. You then have to activate the ECG on your watch. So there are many different ways you go about that. You could push the crown, the face. There's a bunch of different ways these watches work, but essentially you have to activate your watch to do the ECG. So then the watch usually asks you to be quiet, seated in a spot, and then you can actually, it will do the ECG for you. It then interprets it and says, hey, you either have atrial fibrillation or you don't have atrial fibrillation, and that you should check with your healthcare provider regarding this. It then saves that and it saves it to your smartphone as a PDF format. Now, the problem with this is, as I told you earlier, is that many patients don't know they have atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation doesn't always cause symptoms. So if you don't have any symptoms, how are you going to activate the watch to do an ECG? This does not continually monitor your heart and tell you if you have atrial fibrillation. Wouldn't that be great if you could wear your watch and it would continually monitor your heart and tell you if your heart ever went into atrial fibrillation? That would be a game changer. And folks, that is the game changer we're going to talk about today. All right, this is great news. And the continuous monitoring of your heart rate has been approved for the Apple Watch in the United States and Canada. And it will occur later this fall with Watch OS 9. Now, the great feature of this is it will work on the older watches, so you don't have to spend any more money. The Apple Watch you have now, this will occur on it. It is just a soft grade. This is likely going to occur with the Fitbit series as well, as there is a big study that is just completing with the Fitbit line to confirm the same. The sophisticated sensors in the back of these watches on the back surface monitor your heart. And with a software change, we can monitor them on a 24-hour basis. This is going to be a game changer, folks. You'll be able to wear your watch 24/7, and it's going to tell you if you have had any history of atrial fibrillation. It's going to track your heart on a 24/7 basis. It's going to tell how long your heart was in atrial fibrillation. It's going to tell us the time, the amount of time it was in atrial fibrillation, and what time of day or week it was most active. This is valuable information for healthcare providers. When I was practicing medicine, this would have been a game changer for me. Because, of course, what we want to do is know is if patients remain in atrial fibrillation after we've treated them for them. Some of the treatment for atrial fibrillation is to get you out of atrial fibrillation, whether it's through surgery or medication. We want you to be out of atrial fibrillation, or if you're going to stay in atrial fibrillation, you need to be anticoagulated. So we need to know what your heart is doing on a continuous basis, and this solves the problem, folks. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. At the American Heart Association in 2021, Google presented their Fitbit study to evaluate atrial fibrillation involving 450,000 people that took part. The algorithm Google used correctly identified atrial fibrillation in 98% of the time. Now, the exciting part about this was that it was done using a wide variety of Fitbit devices, not just the Fitbit Sense. It is possible with the software change that most of the Fitbit line can now continuously monitor you for atrial fibrillation. And we know that around 12 million people in the United States this year will have atrial fibrillation. And this certainly is more prevalent with advancing age, hypertension, and obesity. So it is so important that we identify these folks so we can get treatment and, of course, prevent the complications such as stroke, congestive heart failure. So we expect to see this fall changes in the software to Apple and Google software that will allow continuous monitoring for atrial fibrillation, which will be a big help in the medical management of this very serious condition. In summary, let's look at what we've learned today. The first thing is you now understand the word atrial fibrillation and should know what it is. The second thing you learned today is that it's common, and it's even more common after the age of 60, and 16 million patients in the United States will have a period of atrial fibrillation this year. And 3 is you now know that it is the third leading cause of stroke. The good news is, of course, we have the Apple Watch, the Fitbit Sense, and the Galaxy Watch 4 that have been approved by the FDA and in Canada for the evaluation of atrial fibrillation. And now on your watch, with the click of a button, you can now do an ECG, which is interpreted and will tell you if you have atrial fibrillation or not. But after today's seminar, you now know that a lot of people don't have symptoms with atrial fibrillation. But the good news is coming, because Apple has now confirmed that with Apple Watch OS 9, we'll be able to continually track and monitor for atrial fibrillation on a 24-hour basis. And this will be available on most Apple Watches. You won't have to go and buy a new watch. You've also learned today that Google is following suit with this, and I expect a big announcement since their Fitbit study was done in 2021. I expect probably a big announcement with the introduction of their new Google Watch this fall. This will have the new version of Android Wear on it, and we'll likely see a continuous monitoring as Apple has done. The technology is there. I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be a big feature. Well, it's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Just before we sign off, I just want to remind. All right. Okay, so there we have it. So hopefully there might be some questions about that later, but we'll deal with those in the Q&A. Hewie, are you ready to roll?
I certainly am. I'm getting things in place. We'll be there in just a moment. Today, I'm going to show you how to find anything using everything on a PC. I'm Hewie Poplock. That's right. I like to find files quickly. Windows doesn't really give us a chance to do so. I'm going to use a program that I've talked about many times, but I've never really demonstrated in detail. We're going to try to do that today. Using Everything by Void Tools. You use Windows Search or Cortana, you'll find a few files on your system, and then it'll say, well, let's go to Windows Explorer and see what we can find. When you do that and you put in your search, you will find that it takes quite a bit of time. I have 3 screen captures here. The first one about 5 minutes in, the second one about 9 minutes in, and the last one about 30 minutes in when it finally finished. So it takes a long time just to find one term when you're searching with Windows Explorer. When you are searching using Everything, as soon as you open it, it's ready to go and it finds everything within a second. This is the website, voidtools.com, where you can download the installer, where you can download a portable version as well. Let's take a look at a live demo. Let's open up Everything. As soon as we do, it's there. And we can start searching. So let's use the term CFCS to search, and it now has found 1,540 objects. It does the folders first, and as we scroll down, you can see there's a lot of items there. As we scroll down, then we get the files. There are some that are Excel spreadsheets and PDF files and all kinds of files. And we can sort in several ways, and we're going to take a look at some different ways in which we can sort. First, we are sorting alphabetically with the folders at the top. If we click the name, we reverse that. So now we're starting at the Z under the files, then we go to the folder. So we can search alphabetically from A to Z, Z to A. We can sort by the path, and then we can reverse that, and it will do the G and C. And I'm going to talk about how you set that up in a moment. You can do by size. So you can have the largest file at the top. In this case, it's 2 gigabytes. Or you can go to the smallest. Those are folders, so there's not sizes, but then we start at 1K. Or you can go by date modified to the date that I'm recording this, which is the 7th of August. Or you can reverse it and go to the oldest file using the CFCS by folder is 2012. The oldest file by itself is 1998 on my hard drive. Now there's different views you can have. Right now we're looking at the details. You can have medium thumbnails, you can have large thumbnails, and you can have extra large thumbnails. Let's look at different items that you can search. You can search everything, which is what we're set at now, but you can only look at audio files, compressed files, documents, executables, just folders, just pictures, or just videos. Another thing that we can do under View, we can have a preview window. That means if we click this, we see a preview of it. So you can adjust that. But you can also adjust your column sizes so we can have all the information and see it here. You see the ability to change, and it changes very quickly. There's a couple of things I want to show you under Tools and under Options. First one is folders. I have a D drive which is an SD card, and G is my Google Drive. So I can search my Google Drive as well by adding it under folders. And I can exclude certain things. I don't want to show hidden files in folders. I don't want to show any system file. And in most cases, when I'm looking for a file, I'm not looking for something. It's going to be either hidden or a system file. If I'm sure that that's what a file is that I'm looking for, then I might want to uncheck those. But I'm going to keep them checked. I'm going to say, oh, it does take a few seconds when you make that. Now it's sorting them and it's done. So now it doesn't have any of the hidden files or any of the system files. So if I type in Hewie, you will see all of the folders that have Hewie, but let's now search for any video files that have my name in it. And you will see that there are several. They're right there. I want to look at any document that has my name in it. You will see that even documents, if I click on it, I will get, sometimes takes a few seconds for it to load the file to show you the preview. I want to look for pictures. And then I can go back to search everything. Now let's say I want to find Chromebook. You can see I have a lot of files there. And if I wish, I only want to find on G. I want to look at my Google Drive, and you can see that it shows everything that's on my Google Drive. So I put a space there in the word screen, I will see the word screen and only those items that are on my Google Drive. So people ask, can I search my Google Drive? Well, this is a way which you can search your Google Drive. You're not going to do it from your Chromebook, but you can do it from your PC. Find what you want, know where it is, and then go to your Chromebook and then work with it. Let's look at a few ways that I use everything. First, I want to find some files that I know were in the folder when I was working on website of the week. And as I start to type in website, you'll notice that it keeps changing with each letter. And as I continue to type, it found all of the website of the weeks. I'm looking for something in 13. So I'm going to come down here to that folder, and it could be even a file where that folder is. But I'm going to find that folder. I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to come up here to Open Path. I'm going to click on Open Path. It opens up my Windows Explorer to that folder and all of the files and subfolders that are there. Then I can find the file that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a file that I created in a program called Microsoft Publisher. I know all of the files that Publisher creates are .pub. So if I hit the star or asterisk .pub, it will find, the asterisk is a wildcard, so it'll find any file that has the extension pub. So I can come down here, I can find what I'm looking for, and I know that it's that file, or it probably is. I can tell it to open the path. It opens the folder that has that file in it, and then I can pick and choose which one I want to use. Often I lose a file. I might save it and can't remember where I saved it to right after I saved it, or I was clicking and dragging a file and dropped it in the wrong place. Now, how would I find it? Well, let's give an example. I'm going to open up a web page. I'm still on Vid Tools, and let's say I want to find support and everything, and there's something on here that I want to capture. So I do a screen capture. I happen to use a program called Snagit. You may use something else, but this is what I'm using. So we're going to take this information. We're going to tell it, okay, grab it and save it and save as, and we'll say test number 1. And I say save, and I close. It saved it. I close this. I didn't pay attention to where I was saving it. So how do we do that? We'll minimize this. We called it, doesn't matter what we called it. Maybe I don't even remember what I called it. What am I going to do? I am going to look under date modified, but I know that I saved it as a JPEG. So let's first tell it we want to look for pictures. Now we're going to go to date modified. We're going to sort, find the last one, and there it is right at the top because it's the last picture that I saved. I just click on it. I can look at the preview, and that's what I wanted. And here is where it is. And so I can now right mouse click and open the path. Okay, it's in the articles for the blog. It's for this article, but maybe that's not where I want it. I can place it wherever I want now that I know where it is, and I can even rename it if I didn't like the title that I was using. So very quickly, you can find what you last saved, even if you can't remember the name or where you saved it to. How to find anything using everything on a PC. I'm Hewie Poplock. There you go.
Huey, I was talking to a friend of mine, Byron. He's on the show today, and over the weekend, and we were talking, and he said, "Yeah, that everything you knew you were going to talk about that today, because of course he subscribes to the newsletter and knew on the with the agenda was out on Saturday." And he said, "Man, that program saved my bacon so many times." And I said the same thing. You told me about that program a couple of years ago, and it has saved me so many times from disaster. It is a must. I think it's great.
I'm going to play this video again on my Windows 6 because I think it's an important program that if you run Windows, and it can be anything going back to Windows 7 and even XP, I believe it would run on. If you have any of those, install it and use it. And yes, you can find any file very quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great. So it's got my seal of approval. I'm sure it's got yours as well. All right. Bob is not, he may be in a car, but he still has one more segment here. He's going to give us some more advice. Just hold on. So let's see what Bob has to say.
Some basic but very important modem advice. There are modems, there are routers, and there are also modem-router combos. Modems and modem-router combos occasionally need some attention. If you don't forget to like, share, subscribe. The following video I put together will give you some solid advice on keeping your internet humming and your modem safe and secure for some time into the future. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are and what else you'd like to see. The computer room. 3 computers in this room and 1 Chromebook. But it all starts with the modem router combo. That's what connects the modem part to the outside world, and a router is what routes all of those devices to that modem. Your router modem, in my case, modem router combo, just like your computer, needs to be restarted and updated on a regular basis. It also builds up garbage. And if you don't, on occasion, restart that modem, you may wind up with some problems. Also, there are infections that can get into that modem. And some of those infections only last as long as the modem runs. Once you reboot it, that's the end of that infection. So it's important that on a regular basis, this baby gets rebooted. And there's a very easy way to do that. In my case, this part down here where the unit is plugged in, I regularly, on a weekly basis, disconnect this. As you can see, all the lights are gone because I just shut down my modem router combo. I wait 15 to 30 seconds. And once that time is up, it gets plugged back in again. That clears out all the garbage. It can also clear out some of the infections that are currently out there, because they only last for as long as that device has been plugged in since its infection. Once rebooted, that's the end of the infection. So let me plug this back in. As you see, the first light's back. Now, we all know once you unplug and replug, this takes quite a while for it to reset. But this is what should be done at least once per month. If you want your computers and the rest of the stuff to work properly, it starts right here. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks. Good advice. I have to remember to do that. That's
That's one of the problems.
Yeah,
Advice
I
is
gotta-
easy to give. It's hard to remember.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Yes. So I got to do that. But good advice. Thanks so much, Bob. That's great. Listen, it's just before we get into Ray's music, I want to thank, excuse me, I want to thank everyone over that's on YouTube that's been watching the show. If we still have some room for you here, if you want to pop over and participate in the Q&A, that's great. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Don't forget the premiere service that we discussed earlier. Greg, we'll get to your question after the music.